Hello from Cheongju, South Korea. Today I want to talk to you about some simple theology that everyone should know and learn. We're going to talk about what is the difference between Calvinism versus Mennonite thinking and early church. Now I want to discuss just for a minute that the early church believed doctrines that were passed on by the apostles, the disciples of Jesus. And Paul tells us in Timothy chapter 3 that Timothy should choose faithful men who would teach others also. So the discipleship principle of the early church was to choose faithful men. At times we see that Paul himself had between 8 and 12 people following him, and he would teach them in a more discipleship manner. So the faithful men passed on information. Now, what some people don't know, from the time I was in Bible college, I bought the 10-volume set of early church writings, which is all the early church writings up to 325, Council of Nicaea, and I read them faithfully, and what I found was the doctrines of the early church, what they believed. Now, Mennonites have always gone to the early church writings because of all the people during the Reformation period. The Reformers, as we'll talk about them in a few minutes, meant that they called themselves Reformers because they tried to reform the Catholic Church. But the Anabaptists, which our Mennonite heritage comes from, said, no, let's go back to the early church and be like the early church. Let's believe like them, let's practice like them. And so the early church writings are read by Mennonites, not because they are scripture, no, we don't believe they're scripture, but we get to see from history what they believed and how they lived and how they practiced. Now, Tertullian in the 2nd century said, whatever is true is probably what came first. What came after that may not be true. And so that is an accurate statement from Tertullian, saying that we have benchmarks as to what truth is. 1, did the early church believe it? Number 2, what came first? What doctrines came first? And I've studied the history of Christian doctrine, which is very important. I think number 3, which is very obvious, what did the Jews believe? What is Jewish doctrine, Jewish tradition, especially at the time of Christ? What did they believe? And so we're going to be talking about the character and nature of God, and I think that you'll see that these 3 principles need to be in effect as we do that.